So Suge is now surrounding himself with people who don't actually have 9-to-5 jobs.
Suge surrounded himself with everybody that didn't have
Right. All the Compton guys were not making money legally.
No, not at all.
So now there's a legal source of income.
Yeah.
And it's starting to come in. Now, in the beginning, when you were there, it was all the Pyrus from the neighborhood. Mm. But at one point, it started to switch to the guys that were coming out of prison.
Well, when I started with Suge, we had the little homies, and we had a couple of other homies, and it was cool. But it was Fernhill Records. Now, as soon as we flicked the switch, and we're converting to Death Row Records, now we got so many people coming. Now my brother is out of jail, and my brother is meeting Suge and just start talking to him, yada yada, and Buntry, you deal with Suge. I ain't finna. He opened up the hydraulic shop. I ain't finna deal with him. You deal with him. Now Alton brings in all of these other people, the other homies. I mean, it went from I might think a minute to kill you to guys that say you look at me funny, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? So his whole entourage changed from my staff to what Alton seen that he was comfortable with. And that's when George and all of those guys came. But when those guys came, they had different agendas. They was looking at a check, but they was looking for it to be a big check and quick, more than once a week, more than once a month. I mean, so it changed everything. Suge couldn't slow down at the point.
Did you know Pat Johnson?
Pat Johnson. I heard of the name.
Well, he was a kingpin, a drug kingpin in Compton.
Oh, no.
And Reggie Wright, in our last interview, he said that Pat Johnson was the guy who really founded Death Row, who really put the money up.
Pat Johnson, a guy that was one that was allegedly supposed to have been Suge's front money. You know, Harry will get the credit, but actually it was Pat Johnson, PJ, that gave up a bunch of money. He ended up getting 30 years, but he recently been out about 2 or 3 years. Suge never give Harry credit, you know. But David Kenner, who's the attorney, he was Harry O's attorney, and he was Pat Johnson's attorney.
Okay, and who was Pat Johnson? What did he do?
He was a big-time drug dealer that, like I said, got caught in one of those federal task force, did 30 years. He's been out for about 5 years now. Since about 2006, 2007, he's been out.
Okay, was he the biggest drug kingpin in Compton?
He was big. Fink was big. That I know of, yeah. I would put him in the top 5.
Okay, because he allegedly had millions of dollars ready to invest in Death Row in the beginning.
I only heard, and Suge only give him credit for about $500,000.
Still a lot.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
From a guy that's doing this from jail.
I was at the office when Suge was accepting Harry O calls and when Suge stopped accepting his calls. So, like I said, man, I was on the game banging shit. I wasn't on the politic bullshit when it started going that way.
Okay, so let's talk about the Harry O situation. Because, I mean, Harry O ultimately won a major lawsuit against...
Well, I mean, and he should have.
Why did Suge stop taking Harry O's phone calls? Because originally, that phone, there was a landline phone in there, which was just for Harry O, which nobody was allowed to use. And there was that whole situation where Suge made those two guys strip because they were using that phone.
Yeah.
They're in the building. We're paying all the bills. We get a phone bill from the studio floor that was something like, I want to say, $8,000 for a month.
Okay.
So Griffey calls Suge in, and he says, look at this bill. This is ridiculous. If you can't get those knuckleheads down there to stop using the phone, I'm going to throw you out. So that night, Suge comes into the building, you know, goes up to the third floor, and one of the Stanley brothers was on the phone. And I wasn't there, so this is what was reported to me, you know, that he asked the guy to get off the phone And he said, and I think the Stanley Brothers had been part of the World Class Wrecking Crew. And they were actually there to try and get Dre, who by then is becoming known as a hit producer, to do something for them. And so he tells Suge, he didn't know who Suge really was. He said, hey, look, I'm one of Dre's guests. Go talk to him. And Suge said, I don't talk to him. I run this. He said, man, go, leave me alone. So Suge apparently goes out, goes back downstairs to his car, gets a gun, comes back, puts the gun to his head, and says, motherfucker, I told you to get off the phone. So then he hangs up the phone, and Suge takes him into the major room. We had the studio, we had a big, it was a big studio, because we constructed it in the days when you made records with musicians. And so, you know, in the olden days, if you wanted to do a string date, you would bring in the string section from the LA Philharmonic, and that's how you do string overdubs and stuff. So we had a studio that was big enough to accommodate all those. So Suge brings him into the studio and has everybody, you know, people from the rehearsal, said, I want you all to come in here. And he said, this is what's gonna happen if you use that phone. And so he tells the guy, take off his clothes. And he says, I'm not taking off my clothes. So then he shoots the gun he has by the guy's ear.
You weren't there during that situation.
Not when that happened, but that phone was for Harry-O.
Right.
When Harry-O called, Suge was having, long conversations with Harry-O. When Suge and Dre one time, say for instance, so you talk to H, meaning Harry-O, and DLC and everybody knew that what Harry-O position was in that. Suge would meet with his wife, who his wife was at the time, the whole nine. She would come up there the whole nine. Now, you got a cat that said, this dude giving me millions of dollars, $2 million to help us start this. Then you go from that, and then everything changed. The suits, the all the jewelry and all of this other shit. Now I'm telling you, Suge is changing into something he shouldn't have did. Stay Suge Knight, stay this, stay that. Like I said, you don't have to be on all these, taking all these pictures and doing all this other shit. And it just changed him. Now he don't want to give nobody, it's just like greed. He don't want to give nobody shit. You know what I'm saying? Some cats' checks went from looking good to a little nothing, where they said, fuck that, and went back, you're making more money robbing people than sitting up here dealing with this bullshit. So